my name is Leah and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the anti-TBR tag, which was created by Nicole over at Nicole and Her Books, and I'll link her channel down below, and she tagged me in this. And this is basically about books that you are not going to read, so an anti-TBR. There are 8 questions, I believe, so let's get into those. The first question is a popular book that everyone loves but you have no interest in reading. And this is actually going to be a book that I thought I had an interest in reading, but after hearing what some people had to say about the book, I am not really interested in reading it anymore. And I'm a little bit disappointed by this, and I feel like people are going to also be disappointed that I don't want to read this, but we can have different thoughts on books. And that is Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and I really liked it, so I was looking forward to this. But from what people have told me about the book, I don't think I'm going to end up enjoying it, so I just don't think I'm going to end up picking it up. I know a lot of people who read adult romance really want a lot of smut scenes and stuff like that in their books, but I don't personally. And while Chloe Brown did have some scenes like that, it also kind of balanced out for me with like the yearning. There was some good yearning and like character stuff that I really liked. And I think there is probably some like character things and stuff like that in Dani Brown that I would like. However, what I've heard from people who have read it is that a lot of the book, it's less yearning and more like the two characters really thirsting after each other the whole time. And while I know that would appeal to a lot of people, it does not personally appeal to me. So it just has kind of content that I am not personally a fan of in the book, so I don't think I'm going to end up picking it up, but I don't think that should stop anyone else from picking it up because it is very much a personal thing for me, and it's nothing about the book itself. And I know people who have really enjoyed it, so don't let me not wanting to read it stop you from reading it, because I think a lot of people really will enjoy it. I just personally won't. I also especially wanted to read this because I'm pretty sure the main character, Dani Brown, is bisexual. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think she's bi, so I was really excited to read it for that reason too. And like I said, I did really like Chloe Brown, so I think I will pick up Evie Brown in the future. I may let other people I know read it first and ask them if they think it's something that I will enjoy, because some of my friends really know kind of what I do and don't like in romance books, so I might ask some other people if they think I'll enjoy it. But just based on what people I know have said, I don't think I will enjoy Dani Brown. The second question is a classic book or author that you have no interest in reading, and I have 2 answers for this question. There are probably more answers than that of just classics I haven't thought of, because a lot of classics are very racist and I have no interest in reading them. But the first one that applies to is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, which I owned a really pretty copy of, and I think I had gotten it like years ago, and I know it's super racist and I have no interest in picking it up, so I unhauled that. I think I unhauled that in my recent unhaul video. But I have no interest in reading that. I've heard it's super racist. No thank you. The other classic I want to talk about is The Great Gatsby by, I think it's by F. Scott Fitzgerald. You can tell I really don't care about it. I somehow avoided having to read this for school. I feel like everyone has to read this for school. Did anyone else somehow avoid reading this in their education? I went through different like humanities programs and I was an English major in college, and I somehow avoided this book, and I'm so grateful for that because I have no interest in this book. And there are several other books that I wish I hadn't read, that I wish I could have avoided, like Catcher in the Rye, Heart of Darkness, though I did not finish Heart of Darkness. I was supposed to read it for school. I wrote a whole essay on it, I think I got a B on it, that I had only read part of the book for. So, never read that. But I somehow avoided Great Gatsby. I really don't know how. But I don't have an interest in this book. I don't really feel like reading it. I've seen people present projects on this, so I know like a couple things about it, but I have no interest. I'm sorry if you see me looking down. I need to refer to my iPad because I am bad at memorizing these questions. The next question kind of has two parts, which I'm going to combine into one, and that's an author whose books you have no interest in reading / a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. And for me, this is Mackenzie Lee. I used to have a really big interest in her Gentleman's Guide series, especially because the main character of the first one is bi, and I know there's sapphics in the second one, and if you've been watching this channel for any period of time, you know sapphics is my brand. But Mackenzie Lee is not great. Even if her transphobic book got canceled, it still existed, and she's done other things, so I'm just not going to pick any of her books up, I don't think, at any point. The other person I'm going to mention is Rainbow Rowell, and I have read a couple of her books and enjoyed them, but I don't plan on reading anything by her in the future. I actually think I unhauled one or two of her books in my last unhaul video, because I now have no interest in reading her books. The next question is an author you've read a couple of books from and decided that their books are not for you. And I'm going to mention two authors again for this. The first one is Stephen King, who is also very problematic, so that's part of it too. Stephen King is very problematic, but I read Carrie by Stephen King, and I think that's the only Stephen King I read. It was fine. It's just not for me. I'm also like not that much of a like horror person, so that's probably part of it, but Carrie was just kind of, I don't know, it existed. I'm just not a Stephen King fan, and like I said, he's super problematic, so like at one point I was considering trying more of his books, but since he's awful, then that means I'm just not going to bother, because why would I read books I don't think I'm going to enjoy by a problematic author? Then the next author, I know a lot of people really enjoy her books, but for me that's going to be Sarah J. Maas. A lot of my friends really like her books too, so I feel slightly bad about saying this, but I read ACOTAR by her, and at the time I enjoyed it, but I have the feeling that if I reread it now, I wouldn't enjoy it as much, and I actually recently unhauled that too. And I also read Throne of Glass by her, which I thought was fine. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, and there are so many other books that I just think I'll enjoy more, so I don't really plan on picking any of her books up. I'm just not really interested in her books. The one book of hers I might pick up is her Catwoman book. I could be convinced to pick that up. I feel like RC is going to watch this and yell at me to pick it up. So I already know I have one friend that would tell me to read it. But if anyone else has read her Catwoman book and really liked it, tell me, because maybe I could be convinced to pick that one up, but I just don't think I'll be reading any of her other books. That opinion could change, but I don't really foresee it changing. Question 5 is a genre you have no interest in, or a genre that you tried to get into and couldn't. And for this, I really try to read all genres, and I don't think there's a genre I really dislike, but there are some genres that I have a harder time with or that I am more particular with, so I think I'm going to talk about those. The first two I want to talk about because they kind of go together in terms of reasoning are nonfiction and literary fiction, because these are books that I tend to have a harder time getting into, or I might find myself kind of bored by sometimes, but I've found that a good way for me to actually read them is through audio, so I've been listening to a lot of nonfiction and a couple literary fiction recently through audio, and I'm finding audiobooks are really a good way for me to consume nonfiction, and it's been very rare that I've actually really loved a nonfiction that I've read physically. It has happened, but it's a lot rarer than audiobooks. And I'm always looking for more like nonfiction audiobook recommendations, so if you have any you really like, let me know. But those are genres I struggle to get into more, and I kind of have to consume them in a specific way in order to really like them usually. The next two I want to mention that also kind of go together are thriller and horror, because these are genres that I want to get into but haven't been super successful with so far, / I think these genres just might not be as much for me as other genres. So far I haven't really loved the thrillers that I've read, but I am still trying. I am still going to try. I have not given up. I feel like I'll be able to find a thriller that I really like. I do plan on reading a Ruth Ware thriller sometime soon, and I've heard really good things about her books, so hopefully that will do it for me. But I'm also looking for more thriller recommendations, so if anyone has any thriller recommendations of books they've really liked that have really engaged them, let me know, because the thrillers I've read so far, I am in the middle of one right now and maybe it'll pick up, but so far have just been kind of boring for me. I feel like it's kind of a similar problem that I have with nonfiction and literary fiction. I did watch and really enjoy The Haunting of Hill House TV show, though I was terrified the entire time. I had to watch it in a room with a group of friends, and there was one thing that I got so scared by. I screamed so loudly that I scared my friend sitting next to me more than the thing that happened on the show, so I am a scaredy cat. So I really do want to try some horror, but like I said, I am a bit of a scaredy cat, but maybe some like psychological and character study ones might be what I want, because I feel like that's kind of what Hill House is, and that's why I really enjoyed that. I do have Mexican Gothic and Into the Drowning Deep on my TBR, but if there are any other horrors that you all think I might enjoy, especially ones that are better for scaredy cats like me, let me know. Leave a comment with a recommendation, because I'm really trying to get into both the horror and thriller genres and see if there are some that are for me. The last genre I want to mention is romance, particularly adult romance, because I find myself being more particular with romance books for some of the reasons that I discussed earlier in the video. So if anyone has any recommendations for romances that have a lot of yearning, or romances with ace main characters or sapphic main characters, or romances that don't really have that many smut scenes and things like that, let me know, because I think those are the types of romances that I think I'll enjoy more. The adult romances that I've read and enjoyed, to give you an idea of kind of what my tastes are Get a Life Chloe Brown, Worst Best Man, Red, White, and Royal Blue, and Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. Those are the ones that I've read and really enjoyed. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know, because I am trying to find some more adult romances that I'll like, because I did really enjoy the ones that I read and liked. Question 6 is a book you have bought but will never read, and I recently did an unhaul of a bunch of books, so a lot of books like this were in that video. So if you want to hear more, you can check that out, because I forget what a bunch of them were, but one that I remember was Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I bought it. I've never read it. I don't really plan on reading. I feel like I've heard that it's kind of misogynistic. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I know I've heard some stuff about it that makes me think I won't like it, so I don't really plan on reading that. The next question is a series you have no interest in reading, or a series that you started and then DNF'd, and I have a couple answers for this. I think there's probably definitely some more series that I don't have an interest in reading, but these are the ones off the top of my head. But here's just a couple of answers for this. One is the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. I just don't really have an interest in it. I know a lot of people like it, but I don't really know why. I just don't really feel like reading it. I already mentioned that I'm not planning on finishing either ACOTAR or Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. And then a series I DNF'd is I read The Orphan Queen by Jodi Meadows, I think it's by, and I enjoyed that. It was kind of a generic YA fantasy, but it was an easy read and I enjoyed it. And then I started the second book, and I really hated how the author decided to kind of resolve the love triangle and some choices that were made, so I ended up DNFing that. I'm not going to continue on with that series. I'm sorry I'm having so many camera issues. This happens every video because I have a makeshift iPhone tripod that is not working well for me, because I can't afford to buy an actual phone tripod right now. I'm sorry. But yeah, I decided to DNF the Orphan Queen series. I don't know if that's the actual title of the series, but that was the first book, and I don't plan on continuing with that. Then the last question is a new release that you don't have any interest in reading, and I think for this I'll just give the same answer to the first question, which is Dani Brown, because I can't really think of any other new releases right now that I for sure don't have an interest in reading. There's definitely some that I don't have as much of an interest as others, but there aren't any at the moment that I can think of that I absolutely don't want to read. This is a tag, and I know my friend RC wanted to be tagged and my friend Hallie wanted to be tagged in this, so I tag both of you, and as well as anyone watching this who wants to complete this tag, I tag you. Go ahead and also do this tag, because I think it's fun to see what books other people don't want to read, and it's sad but also interesting when some of your favorites are on other people's lists. So also, please let me know your answers to any of these questions down below, because like I said, I think it's interesting to find out what people have to say about books they never want to read. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you, and also please leave me, let's say, a yellow heart down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you later. Is this crooked? Is The Great Gatsby by, who is this by? Scott Fitzgerald. I can literally hear my camera falling. Alright, I think I slightly messed up the angle again. Oh no, it's falling again. I'm gonna murder this tripod. I hear you falling again.